Good afternoon. I call to order the meeting of the Metropolitan Council Transportation Committee for December 8th, 2025. We're going to start off tonight with the Dakota Land, Water, and People Acknowledgement because we do this whenever we change sites for the Transportation Committee. The Metropolitan Council acknowledges that the land we currently call Minnesota, and specifically the 7-county region, is the ancestral homeland of the Dakota Oyate, who are present and active contributors to our thriving region. As part of the Metropolitan Council's commitment to address the unresolved legacy of genocide, dispossession, and settler colonialism, and the fact that government institutions, including the Metropolitan Council, benefited economically, politically, and institutionally after the forcible removal of the Dakota Oyate, the Metropolitan Council is dedicated to instilling land, water, and people commitments in regional policies. These commitments support the Dakota Oyate, the 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota, Ho-Chunk Nation, and the American Indian communities representing over 150 diverse tribal nations that call the 7-county region home. And with that, we can move on. Next item is to approve the agenda. If there's no changes, we can proceed. Seeing none, on to approval of the November 24th, 2025 Special Transportation Committee minutes. If there's no changes or additions, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Osman. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. And the minutes are approved. On to employee recognition. General Manager Kinderis.
All right, Chair Barber, council members, tonight we are pleased to bring forward a group of instructors and managers who have been working together to really improve de-escalation training for operators and frontline workers. You might recall just last week at the Met Council meeting, we provided our quarterly safety and security action plan update. The second area of work in the action plan is supporting and training employees, and de-escalation training was one of the action items in that action plan. It's something we are hearing regularly from our frontline employees that they wanted to see more of at Metro Transit. So it's really exciting to be able to bring forward the group who made that possible, who's already met their goal this fall of training nearly 1,400 bus and train operators and continue to train frontline workers across organizations. So with the chair's permission, I'd like to invite up Dan Stauffer, who's the manager of our instruction center, to say a few words about this work.
Welcome.
Our newest bus driver right here. Nuisance.
That's the future.
Chair Barber and committee members, my name is Dan Stauffer. I was seen and talked to you before. I'm the manager of instruction for Metro Transit. We reside right across the street from this building. I'm here today to help honor the folks that are standing behind me for their exceptional work on a curriculum called de-escalation. Before we get into the details, I just want to do a quick introduction so you guys know who these folks are. The gentleman down here on your right, his name is Peter Bloomgren. Peter is an instructor, a former instructor at a South Garage. Peter was one of the co-authors of this curriculum and one of the presenters. Peter I whispered in his ear and I said, "How's your new job going?" And he said, "I made it through probation." So he's been promoted to the assistant transportation manager out of Haywood Garage. His colleague here, Nicole Bond. Nicole is an instructor. She is out of Nicollet Garage, and she was the co-author, the other person that wrote this curriculum. Nicole is also a presenter in the curriculum as well. These two folks were what I would call the pioneers of the de-escalation curriculum that we created. Right next to Nicole is Mickey, Mark, and Mike. Mickey, Mark, and Mike are all, it sounds like a band, doesn't it?
Mickey.
Yeah, exactly. They are all out of Haywood Garage. They're all instructors on our team and do a really good job, and they are the presenters of the curriculum as well. One gentleman that's not here, his name is CJ. We want to recognize CJ Camp. CJ is on a week of vacation, getting ready for the holidays, and he is our main audio-visual designer and contributor. To give you some background, about a year ago, I was asked to put together a de-escalation course for Metro Transit that could be given to all frontline workers, including bus and rail operators, public facilities, mechanics, farebox techs, trip agents, supervisors, and managers. This curriculum was one of the requirements of the bipartisan infrastructure law in the Biden administration. And to do such a large, important, highly visible task, I needed to select the right group of individuals to help me get this across the finish line. And I selected these folks. They're exceptional individuals that are standing behind me. To get started in the development process, we called about 10 different transit agencies around America to see if they would be interested in collaborating with us and also sharing some ideas on the de-escalation topic. We worked with the Joint Labor Management and Safety Committee, some of which are sitting behind us right now. And we wanted to meet with them to find out what they thought should be in this curriculum, what they thought was important to add. We conducted surveys with frontline workers to get their opinions. We had breakout sessions with selected individuals that represented all departments to find out what's important to them and what worked for them. We had one-on-one interviews with key long-time employees at Metro Transit to find out what their best practices were in de-escalating situations. We pulled real-life videos from trains, buses, and platforms of situations that kind of went awry and those that went well, and we dissected those in real-time situations to find out, to better the skill level of our operators and others. We staged other videos using instructors as actors. We created classroom activities. We developed scenarios where students would view a situation and discuss the point of no return and also how that person handled it and gave them a grade level on how they handled that. To have some fun at the end, instead of giving them a quiz or a test, we developed a kickoff of Family Feud, but we called it Friendly Feud, and that was a good way to review all of the curriculum. In total, we developed a 7-hour course. It's a highly engaged classroom experience, and to date, I'm going to raise the ante of what Leslie just said because it's hot off the press. I just got this from BSA. We have trained 1,757 employees, not including mechanics. So that's a nice little number that we have. To wrap up, I wanted to let you guys know how proud I am of these folks behind me as their manager. I couldn't have done it without them, and also my former instructor, Peter. They're hard workers. They have great attitudes. They have big hearts. They're intelligent. They're organized. They have what it takes to be great teachers. They are people who other operators look up to. They're all professionals in their craft as bus operator instructors. So congratulations, you guys. I'm really proud of you, and I look forward to working with you again on the next project.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll meet you guys over here to hand out some plaques. Well done. All right, Mark. I think we're at first. Hi.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Peter. Thank you. Mickey. Thank you. Thanks for all you guys do. Nicole.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And Michael. Mike. There you go. All right. Thank you all. Really appreciate your hard work.
All right, guys. Good job.
Councilmember Chambliss?
Yes, I just want to thank Leslie and her team. You know, we've worked on the safety and security action plan for a while, and at the start, I was involved as its chair, and I know that a lot of council members is very important, and they've expressed that de-escalation training is really important. One of the things that council members asked about was use of force, and the de-escalation training goes along with how to properly do that. So thanks to the people that were awarded and to Leslie and her team.
Thanks for your comments, Councilmember Chambliss. We do have someone here this evening who would like to address the committee, and we'll do that now before we move on to reports. We have Andrew Boardman here, I believe. Welcome.
Thank you. Chair, committee, my name is Andrew Boardman. I'm the Assistant Business Agent for the ATU 1005. First of all, I want to start off by saying that I think Leslie is doing a great job. But if you guys record that, we're going to have that scrubbed. I'm coming to you about something very serious, though. With ICE and Minnesota being on the map, and we have a very diverse workforce, we are already receiving calls, texts, messages in general from our people. Not only are they already starting to deal with issues with ICE, but there's a lot of fear around it. I have been talking with management, Leslie and Brian Funk back there. I can't say anything good about him on the record either because it'll be held against me later. I have confidence that they will work with us on this, but I want to make sure that you guys, the people, at the top, understand that this is affecting us, and this is affecting us in a big way. This is going to affect service, because if people are afraid to go to work, you're not going to have enough buses on the road. So I implore you to do everything in your power to help us ensure the safety of our legal and high quality workers, not only in the ATU, but throughout the Met Council. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments. I do appreciate that because I think we all on this side of this table feel this too. So thank you. All right, is there anyone else who would like to address the committee? All right, seeing none, we can move on to reports. We're going to start with MTS Services Executive Director Carlson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, council members. Very brief report. I just need to share, I know the general manager will speak to this, but I just want to share how excited I was to attend the E-Line opening, but specifically a E-Line ride to the E-Line opening that was filled with dozens of extremely enthusiastic young people who were riding to the opening event, and as well as a state representative, Katie Jones, who was along for the ride as well. What a pleasure, and congratulations to our colleagues at Metro Transit for a successful launch. In MTS, we launched some new routes, and we transitioned other routes in support of the quarterly service changes that you heard about at your, I think, last meeting. I feel like it is snowing every time I go outside to go do another quarter-inch pass of snow, and much more so tomorrow night by the reports. So we're watching and preparing for that and potential impacts, particularly on metro mobility. But more than anything else, we're really appreciative of squadrons of council, contractor, private citizens, city and county partners clearing snow, clearing sidewalks, clearing front steps, clearing entryways. It allows our system to be accessible and safe. So we'll continue those efforts. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Dr. Carlson? All right, on to Metro Transit General Manager Kinderis.
Chair Barber, council members, yes, I want to echo everything Director Carlson said about the E-Line. Very exciting to see the excitement as we launched that on Saturday. So thank you for those of you who are able to attend. Really appreciated that. And I was able to thank Metro Transit staff in my remarks on Saturday, but just want to repeat, it's truly all hands on deck work to launch a new line. And we didn't just launch one line this year, we launched 3 lines this year. And that's really due to the hard work of people across this organization. If I start naming names or departments, I'll forget someone, but just really want to echo that it was really a historic year for people here at Metro Transit, and appreciate all of your support and participation in that as well. And then also, yes, of course, with the weather, with the snow, couple meetings back, we were able to provide an update and reminder of our process as we prepare for winter weather. But just a reminder, if you are getting questions or concerns from people in your district, from riders about Metro Transit service, please do. You can always let me know. Our customer relations manager, Pam Steffen, is also available to support in responding to those. But no, we're here to make sure people get the information they need and have an opportunity to report issues with conditions that they're experiencing. So just want to share that reminder as well. But with that, I don't have any further updates, but would certainly be questions if there are any.
Thank you, General Manager. Councilmember Pacheco.
Madam Chair, members, I just want to echo what the gentleman that was just there in regards to what's happening out there with the ice and it's going on, is that there's less people taking the bus because there's less people getting out. They're not coming out of the house. They're not supporting some of the other folks there, and so we're getting a lot of that feedback from the Latino Chamber. And if you want to look at how it should be handled, YouTube is a cafe, Ola Repe. When the ICE folks visited there, they handled it beautifully. And something you can check out, I think it's on YouTube as well. And finally, I really did enjoy E-Line going up, comes right by my house. More importantly, I was there with Deb Barber. Hey, but thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions or comments? I just want to echo some of the things on the E-Line. It is a big deal that we opened our third line this year, and and definitely kudos to all the staff. Like the amount of work and time, and I mean, even some of us have spent even out with the E-Line, kind of reaching out into community. But Katie Roth and her team are just amazing, and you blow me away every time. It's just been fantastic. So, yay! That's all I do. Absolutely. All right. If there's no other comments or questions, we don't have a TAC update tonight, but we do have an update from the Joint Labor Management Safety Committee. We have Abel Mumbai and Rafael Valle here to present. Welcome.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Abel Mumbi. I represent the management side of things on the JLMSC.
And my name is Rafael Valle, and I represent the labor side on the Joint Labor Safety Committee.
So we'll give more of a year recap. This is supposed to be part of our quarterly review, but it'll be more looking back, a little more information for the year review. We'll go back and forth just like we do in our own meetings. So I'll start off and then I'll go back and forth between the two of us. So there's a lot on this slide, but the one thing we want to make sure to highlight for you is that part of the responsibility of a JLMSC is to be able to review the agency safety plan and make updates prior to bringing it to you, which later on I'll mention Andrew will be bringing it to you and then eventually to the council. They're basically for the final approval. And part of it is to be able to identify and recommend risk-based mitigation, which is for the purpose of reducing any likelihood of any basically bad things happening on our system. And along with that as well is that part of what we do as a committee is to review incidents, to be able to see any processes that we have that are inefficient, that are inappropriate, that needs to be adjusted. Also, just looking at incidents and trying to learn from any given incidents to see if there's anything else that we're missing as an agency at a system-wide.
Also, in our meetings, yes, we started a meeting on January 3rd through December 25th. We have a total of 22 meetings and 4 cancellations, which is saying a lot for us. We've been working very hard in this committee.
Yeah, and a point of note to Rafael, the cancellation will primarily be made for, at one point, there was I'll go back a little bit. All management were required to go to council ambassador meeting and also to accommodate employees working overtime for the state fair and also management working overtime for the state fair and of course Thanksgiving, and also we've already canceled our meeting that fell on Christmas to accommodate people for time off. So one thing that we wanted to do as to this slide here as a group is to help the group understand the overall system impact. So we invited Leslie to one of the meetings, and basically was more question, how this works and how that works. We did the same for other senior leadership, such as PD and other departments, and that helped the group be able to see the impact of the work that we do. The other thing also we've been able to do is to link up with the Transportation Safety Security Committee. In other words, that's a committee that's looking at the garage specific, on the road, what's happening. And so if things come to our committee, we can say, hey, where does it fit? Is this something we need to address, or is this needs to go to the other committee? And also the reverse as well. If the other committee finds something that they think, hey, this is system-wide, then they would push it back to us to be able to do that. Some of the improvements we've done, trying to promote the safety culture, is changing the way we've reported safety incidents, where they're considered to be safety incidents or events, to just reporting for safety concerns. So allow employees to be able to report not only when things go wrong, but report when they're concerned, or report when they're not sure whether or not there's something that needs to be addressed there. In our last meeting, when we were here, we mentioned that our committee, JLMSC, voted to recommend to pilot operator barriers. I'm here to report that we have the 10 that we voted on. So actually this Thursday in our meeting, we'll have a final review, hopefully to formulate questions for feedback from the operators for our step to move forward. And also I'll make a point that our team on maintenance mechanics made modification to our current barrier. They're going to present that also as a prototype to see if there's anything we can do to that. Oops, one more slide.
Yes, in our committee, we've been working on self-reporting. Peer support, which is a big proponent for the labor side, to get our peers to help us deal with situations that happen out there. And once again, de-escalation, which I'm very happy to see that you guys presented an award for the hard work that our instructors did. And I've participated in many other trainings, seeing the prototypes, and I can say I'm very pleased of what some of the things that come out of the de-escalation training.
This is more of a recap for you, this committee here. The main point here is that the council adopted revision 7 of the agency safety plan this January, which will be January 22nd, 2025. We are in the process to finish the revision 8, which will be brought forward, as I stated earlier, by Andrew, our Chief Operating Officer, who was behind that somewhere.
As you guys know, that the FDA required us to implement certain regulations for our PTAS. So we met the requirements, and that's all I could say right now. But as soon as I apologize.
I can jump in for you.
Go ahead.
The main takeaway from this, again, sorry, we do this when we're running the meetings. The main takeaway here is that FTA had a requirement to establish the agency safety plan to be done by end of July 2020. Metro Transit had ours, I'll call it that way, in June of 2019. The next bullet there was the FTA requiring the formation of the Joint Labor Management Committee, and we had one completed for our agency in July. In the last bullet, the main takeaway there was basically the adoption of the Joint Labor Committee doing their work and being able to vote on to the first one. That one, the date is a little off for the sake of this committee. For those that were around, that's the time that we had the final safety agency plan was delayed in approval. That's why the date is off there. The next one here, I'll try to run through. This is a reminder just for you, the sequence of things, as I mentioned earlier. So this week, we are going to vote as a committee Raphael is going to sign, I'm going to sign, and that then will move on to the Office of State Safety Oversight, and then the Chief Safety Officer, Andrew, will sign. Then it will move on to Leslie, and then to this committee, and then to the council.
The aging safety plans not only support the operations of Metro Transit by being viable, flexible, accurate, and useful. Those are important facts to help us assess what our safety agency plans are supposed to be, and I could attest that we are working very hard to get them across and come out that way naturally.
Last page here. The main takeaway on this page, again, is telling you what you already know, just recapping that the agency safety plan, what it is and what it's not. What it is, it's a required document for SMS, and with the main point of looking at safety policy, safety risk management process, safety assurance, and safety promotion, which the more emphasis there is developing the safety culture and being able to document those processes. It also documents our safety key performance indicators, mean distance between failure, accidents, all those are documented in there. And also, it's a way to outline how Metro Transit process hazardous identified within the system. What it is not, I'll jump to the other side there. It's not the only document that exists in our system. Obviously, there's policies, service bulletin, employee manual that identifies details of how things are supposed to be done. This is more looking at the system level. And with that, we'll stand for questions.
Thank you very much, both Abel and Raphael. Questions, comments? All right, I will just add a couple of quick comments. First of all, I really like the emphasis on having the plan be useful, because that is, I think, so important. Everybody can write lots of plans, but if it's not something that actually interacts with what you do, it's not as helpful. So I really appreciate that. I also appreciate all the work that you guys do. I know this is sort of the above and beyond extra stuff, and I know it takes time. And when you say you met 22 times and all of that, definitely have a good understanding of how much that takes, and really appreciate your dedication to this work, because it's really shown in what we see on the other side. So just thank you for all your work.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to our business items. There are no items on consent tonight. So the first item is business item 2025-277JT. It's a loan agreement with MnDOT for coordinated corridor projects. And we have Katie Roth and Ned Smith here to present.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Barber, council members. I'm Katie Roth, Director Arterial BRT at Metro Transit.
And I'm Ned Smith, Chief Financial Officer for the council.
Ned is not Kristen Prescott. Kristen welcomed a grandbaby yesterday, and so she was unable to be with us today. So this item deals with a loan agreement to MnDOT for coordinated construction of MnDOT trunk highway investments with Metro Transit-led investments in bus rapid transit. What's pictured here is University Avenue, or Trunk Highway 47 in the Northern Metro, and is the focus of our item today. So one of the outcomes of the 2025 legislative session was new authority for the council to authorize sales tax loans to MnDOT in order to advance corridor projects and ensure trunk highway compatibility with our planned bus rapid transit investments. Statute outlined the ability to make up to 2 loans in the amount up to $250 million and specified 2 eligible corridor projects. The F-line on highways 47 and 65, which is the subject of our item today, as well as West 7th Street along Highway 5. The loan is intended to be generally a 10-year term, repaid in full by June 30th of 2040, or 10 years after construction begins. So in terms of that coordination on the F-line project, what you see here is a map of the F-line. And I'll note that this is a unique corridor in that it travels almost in its entirety along MnDOT trunk highways. So in green is the area that travels along Trunk Highway 65, or Central Avenue, and in yellow is the portion that travels along Highway 47, or University Avenue. You may recall that MnDOT has been working to identify funding for these projects overall in order to deliver them alongside the F-line. And they have been successful in securing the funding for Highway 65. So that is shown in green as a funded project, which we are currently working with MnDOT to advance toward construction beginning in 2028. Along Highway 47, there is a funding gap that remains that would be filled in the near term by this loan that would allow for construction on that portion as well to begin in 2028. And the timing of these is important because we are eager to deliver the F-line project and the improvements for our customers. Our current intent is to begin service in 2030 after construction on both of these corridors is completed. So with that overview of the project, I will hand things over to Ned to speak to the repayment terms within the loan.
Thanks, Katie. So we've been working with MnDOT over the last couple months to hammer out some high-level terms. For right now, well, the terms that we've pretty much landed on is a maximum loan of $70 million for this project. We do expect at least 2 disbursements because they want to break it up between design, engineering, and construction. Design and engineering will probably be a little more concise, 1 or 2 disbursements, and then as construction goes, they're looking at at least 2 disbursements per year for up to 2 years. The thought there is, you'll notice below, interest starts accruing upon distribution, so they don't want to borrow all the money before they're ready to use it. That's just smart finance. We do the same thing. Our interest rate is agreed at 4%. That is a number that makes sure that we don't make any money. It also makes sure we don't lose any money. And it makes sure that MnDOT doesn't pay too much, and it also makes sure that MnDOT doesn't not pay enough. So part of the law says neither party can benefit financially, so 4%. It's based on a composite of state and local municipal rates, so it pretty much lands us what our opportunity cost is. So as I mentioned before, it will accrue upon distribution. They might not start paying right away, but they will start accruing interest. And so we're working with them on exactly what that timing looks like in terms of when they do start paying. But either way, interest is accruing, and that's my primary concern. So repayment will begin 10 years upon construction, or 2040, whichever's later. They're leaning towards the 2040, so it might be more of an 11-year or a 12-year loan term, but it will end by 2040. And then the schedule, we based it off of Minnesota PFA loan structures. PFA is Public Facilities Authority. That's the loans for any ES committee members here. That's the ES terms that we use for our PFA construction, and it's our subsidized interest rate. But it's a way of laying out how much of your principal you pay off versus interest. So we're going to follow that as a model.
So with that, business item 2025-277 joint action asks that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to negotiate and execute a loan agreement with the Minnesota Department of Transportation, or MnDOT, for coordinated corridor construction of roadway improvements on the Metro F-line corridor.
Thank you very much. Are there questions or comments? Councilmember Carter.
Yeah, I'm going to ask a question I think I know the answer to already, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Why is it set up as a loan? Is it to have a source of renewable funds that you can use in the future? Why isn't it just given?
Take that one, Ned. Chair Barber, council member. The intent of structuring this as a loan is twofold. The first is that these are not transit improvements. These are not transit eligible costs. They are costs for roadway construction that is advantageous to the council to have happen at the same time as the F-line, but is outside of our transit scope and purview. The second intent of having this be a loan is that it does take advantage of some of the near-term capacity we have within the sales tax, while allowing that to come back to the council when it is needed in the longer term.
It's a way to keep our capital working.
Okay.
Additional questions or comments? Councilmember Chambliss.
Just glad to see this funding plan move forward and, have realistic dates for starting and hopefully completing by 2030. It's in my district, so of course I'll be looking at it closely.
I agree with all of that. It's good news. Councilmember Carter.
And I don't have a question, also just the comment that these are high-need projects, and I do appreciate that we have capacity to be able to help move them along in the short term, but for our capacity to do so and willingness to do so, they would not move. So I'm very, very glad to see this, and we'll be supporting and looking forward to the council's support of this work. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions, comments? Seeing none, I entertain a motion to approve business item 2025-277 JT. Councilmember Chambliss, and seconded by Councilmember Tony Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those nay, motion carries. Thank you both. All right, on to business item 2025-307, which is the LVT block procurement contract, and we have Wyatt Jackson here.
Good afternoon,
Afternoon, welcome.
Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Wyatt Jackson. I am project manager for the State of Good Repair project. I'm a principal engineer in the engineering and construction engineering group. I am, like I said, I'm leading the State of Good Repair, which is commonly known as Renew the Blue. This is a 3-year project that started in 2025 and has 2 more years of construction. Part of that includes replacement of the LVT blocks in the Lindbergh Tunnel in 2027. For a little bit of background of what these are specialty blocks that were produced as part of construction of the original Blue Line back in 2001. They have been in service for about 23, 24 years now, be going up, in the next couple of years. They, as you can see over time, these blocks have become worn. They are meant to reduce the LVT stands for low vibration track. They're meant to reduce the vibration and sound that comes out of them in the tunnels. They're commonly used in tunnel systems in transitways across the world. Over time, these blocks have become worn through corrosion and water getting into the blocks, as you can see in the picture on the right up here. As part of this work, we will need to procure 16,000 blocks. There are about 15,000 blocks in the tunnel. There will be an additional 1,000 for spares that will be held near Fort Snelling to replace blocks as they get damaged over time and need to be replaced. These are some pictures of new blocks that you can see look a lot nicer than what we have currently in our system. During our 2025 shutdown, the blocks on the top left part of the screen were replaced. We had the manufacturer come out and verify that the dimensions and what we're procuring would fit in the blocks that we have in our system. As you can see, the blocks on the left are in much better shape than the existing blocks on the right. As such, I'm requesting that the Metropolitan Council authorize the regional administrator to execute sole source with Voestalpine Railway Systems Nortrack LLC in an amount not to exceed $5,562,950.
Thank you. Councilmember Tony Carter.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. The condition looks very, very different from the old and the new blocks that you're showing. Is there also vibration testing done that shows the decreased vibration management such that we know they have to be replaced within a certain period of time?
We currently do not we currently do not do testing, but we have manufacturer lifespan that they provide to us, and this is reaching the end of that lifespan that they'll guarantee.
I trust that evidence
Yes.
is provided as to what actually happens, so
Yes.
that we know it's about the effectiveness, not just wanting a shiny new
Yes.
toy.
Yes.
They aren't that. Thank you
No,
very
correct.
much.
Additional questions or comments? Councilmember Chambliss.
Just one question. Those LVTs that were replaced in 2025 during the shutdown on the left side, are those going to be replaced when the others are replaced, or were they temporary or permanent?
Madam Chair
Meaning
and
for the life of the expected life.
Madam Chair and council members, these are the blocks that we replaced in there are from, we have current existing spares out in that sit at Fort Snelling. They sit in plastic wrap, so they aren't exposed to the elements, but they've been exposed to just weather over the years. This picture was taken in about the middle of the platform. when the construction happens, it's anticipated that they'll go from one end to the other end of the tunnel and tear out all the rail and tear out all the blocks. As a result, the rail will be pulled out and replaced. These blocks will likely be replaced just due to the fact that they are about 20, 25 years old. While they're haven't been in service, it's in the best interest for us to keep new blocks with new blocks for the integrity of the system.
Okay. Councilmember Tyrone Carter.
Yeah, I had a question. They look, of course, they're gonna look different because they've aged, but are they materially different in composition from what the original blocks were?
The core of them is not the concrete manufacturer that we received. I believe we received 2 batches. One was the finish on the top was a little bit different than the ones you see on the right, which is the difference.
Okay.
Okay, additional questions or comments? I just have a general comment about Renew the Blue. I do ride the blue line, and even the work that we've been doing so far, you can really tell a difference. Like, you can see that both the impact of time on a system and the need to keep up on the maintenance, but you can definitely tell that it's helping. So, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you. I'm just curious if we approve, is it going to be required another shutdown to install, and how long is it going to take that shutdown?
So Madam Chair and council members, this work that we're planning on having done is already a part of a planned shutdown in 2027. The duration of that work will include the replacement of these blocks in addition to some other work that'll be happening along Blue Line. I can't remember the exact duration off the top of my head, but it's already a pre-planned shutdown.
Last one took like 3 weeks, I think.
This one's a little longer. General Manager Kinderis.
Chair Barber, Councilmember Osmond, yeah, there will be shutdowns in 26 and 27. They will be longer. We will communicate before those happen. We're still several months away, but really appreciate the question because we know it's really disruptive for our riders when it happens, but in the long run, it's really what we need to do to make sure we're taking care of this system. So.
Thank you.
Say for my selfish transit needs, like the blue line will shut down, now I can get to the system through the E line. So, yeah, just to put another plug for that. All right, any additional questions or comments? All right, then I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2025-307.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Tony Carter, seconded by Councilmember Tyrone Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. On to business item 2025-309, which is the 2026 through 2028 Title VI program. And we have Sharon Edwin. Welcome.
Good afternoon. Madam Chair, committee members, we're here to present about the 2026-2028 Title VI program update. My name is Shireen Edwin, and I'm the Title VI Civil Rights Specialist at the Council, and I'm joined by my colleague and supervisor.
Good afternoon or good evening. Scotty Carter. I am the Civil Rights Manager for my council.
So I'll start us off with a very brief presentation for your consideration. We're going to talk very briefly about the Title VI program update. As you know, the Council already has a Title VI program where we're presenting highlights and updates to the program that we currently have. Okay, so the first slide lists the topics or the plan for our brief presentation. I'll walk us through just a definition of Title VI, an overview, and then I'll go over the 3 parts or the components of the Title VI program document or the reporting tool that we plan to submit to the FTA no later than January 31st, 2026. And then I'll also briefly touch upon the updates to our current program. So that's the plan for the presentation. I'll start off with a definition. Title VI, as you know, is a federal law. It is part of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. It prescribes discrimination on the basis of race, color, and or national origin by recipients of federal funding. The main reference or the guide that we use to prepare the Title VI program is the FTA Circular 47021B. This particular reference or the circular gives us all the guidance, the major guidance and the regulations for the council to prepare and practice the Title VI program. It applies to the council because we are recipients of federal funding. A Title VI program is a more comprehensive and more consistent compilation or an ensemble of activities, practices, policies, and operations through which we demonstrate our commitment and also our compliance with Title VI requirements. The program is more ongoing in that it continues throughout the year, and it includes things such as the public engagement plan, which is really the way in which we show that we engage with the public and the communities that we serve. It must also include a language access plan that shows that we are committed to serving the needs of our populations and committees whose first language may not be English. These are limited English proficiency communities that we interact with or come in contact with through our services. We must also, as part of the program, provide easy access to the public and to the communities and the populations we serve to complain or to file complaints or find complaints, again, on the basis of perceived discrimination on race, color, or national origin. We must also, as part of the Title VI program, conduct equity analyses to avoid any type of discrimination on the basis of the three categories, race, color, or national origin. We must post the Title VI notice that we do not discriminate on the basis of race, color, or national origin in publicly visible locations, such as all our facilities that are accessible by the public. We must also demonstrate and show efforts to encourage broad participation on our committees and boards and advisory councils by diverse communities, and also solicit participation by diverse communities on our elected boards, non-elected boards, our advisory councils and committees. We must also, as part of the Title VI program, assist our subrecipients who receive funding through us. And the Title VI program is updated every 3 years, and which is why we are here to request approval for the upcoming Title VI program update. The next part of the presentation, I'll go over the reporting tool or the Title VI program document that we are currently updating and we plan to submit to the Council for approval. This particular reporting tool or the document has 3 main sections. The first one is general requirements that references the FTA Circular 47021B. The second section or the second part of the report consists of fixed route provider requirements. That's really a combination of our system-wide policies, practices, and procedures through which we show that we are committed to upholding the rights of our communities and populations on the basis of race, color, and national origin. And the third section is a summary of all the Metropolitan Planning Organization or MPO requirements that illustrates all the demographic data and the demographic profile of the communities we serve. So moving on to the general requirements, which is part 1 or section 1 of the program document. As I listed earlier about the program requirements, part 1 of the document also lists the required components. This is just in a nutshell, and in the interest of time, it comprises of the Title VI notice posting, the ways we interact with and engage the public, our language access plan, any improvements we make to our sites or our facilities, how we monitor subrecipients and the assistance we provide to them, and how we encourage minority participation on boards and committees. So that the program document or the reporting tool, the first section or the first part explains how we comply with those requirements. Part 2 of the program document goes over the system-wide policies, the procedures, and the practices to show that we do not intentionally or unintentionally discriminate on the basis of race, color, or national origin. Some of the indicators for that is our on-time performance by our vehicles, service availability, service improvements or amenities, distribution of amenities and vehicle assignments. The way in which we do that and demonstrate non-discrimination is by making those policies and those procedures and practices. There are 2 policies that I'd like to highlight. The first one is that if we make any changes to our fare or our service at the rate higher than 25%, then we must do a fare equity or a service equity analysis to show that we are not discriminating on the basis of those 3 protected classes. If we add or delete any major service or any route, if we restructure any service or we eliminate any service, we must do an equity analysis or a service equity analysis to show that we uphold the principles under the Title VI law. Second policy that I wanted to highlight here is the disparate impact and the disproportionate burden policy, which also shows that both the benefits and the burdens to both kinds of communities on the basis of income or on the basis of diversity are upheld, and that those benefits and burdens are similar and no greater than 90%. That's the current council threshold. So that's the DIDB policy, or the disparate impact or disproportionate burden policy, that is part of our Title VI compliance. Part 3, which is the third section of the program document, contains our commitment to serving the demographics or the demographic areas in a Title VI compliant manner. This consists of maps of the service areas that we serve and all the demographic profile of the communities we serve. There are 2 tools that we rely on to do the MPO requirements under Title VI. The first one is the Transportation Policy Plan under Imagine 2050 that we've adopted recently, and the Transportation Improvement Program, which is a short-range planning tool or a planning practice that we've adopted that helps us show how we are using the funds that we receive from the federal government and how we also serve the mobility needs of the demographic areas that we service. This table very briefly summarizes some of the equity analyses, fair equity analyses, and facility siting analyses that we've done since the last Title VI program. This also shows summarily the disparate impact and the disproportionate burden for each of these analyses that we were required to do under Title VI. These are the studies that were completed, and we plan to include them as part of the Title VI program document that we'll be submitting for approval to the Council. And we are requesting that the Council approve the 2026-2028 Title VI program. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Questions, comments? Councilmember Tyrone Carter.
I'm just making a comment. I'm happy to see we're still acting in the spirit and the law of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, you know, especially today in these times.
Additional Councilmember Tony Carter.
I really do appreciate the update as well. And of course, our Title VI requirements are important. They help guide the work that we do and ensure that we are in compliance with the requirements of the federal government as it pertains to equity, disproportionate or disparate impacts, and just overall use of the funds that we receive. It is, I'm certain, difficult for me and others to tease out as we look at what the updates are, the particular impacts that may exist from new federal changes to Title VI requirements. I hope it's fair for me to ask, based on the work that you all have been doing, if you might be able to just shed a little light for us here at our transportation meeting on what some of those changes and impacts to us may be.
Chair, committee members, I would say being an optimist and also seeing the positive side of things, Title VI is still the law, and therefore it is still very much in use and it's still very relevant. That is something that we will uphold as long as it's the law. There have been, and please correct me if I've misunderstood the question, but there has been some talk about things like limited English proficiency being deprioritized because of a recent executive order. It should be heartening to know that limited English proficiency, because it is tied to national origin, which is directly related and covered and protected by Title VI, is still very much relevant. So we are continuing on with our commitment to serving populations with limited English proficiency. That's just one highlight that came to mind in light of the recent changes and the rescissions of the executive orders that we've heard of.
Go ahead, Councilman. Thank you. Is it fair to say then that in reference to Title VI, we have not seen changes inside Title VI itself that impact our current delivery of the various programs and funding that come from the Met Council? As I look at the updated items, for example, community engagement, updated 2024 service standards and policies, monitoring, evaluation, completed service fair and facility citing equity analyses. I'm familiar with some of that work, but if I go to the insides of it, what can I pull out? What I'm just trying to figure out is what can I pull out that is substantially different, or will I find that we're adhering to our historic Title VI requirements because the changes we've heard about are not official policy changes. They are rumored, I hate to use the word threats, but that's the one that comes to me, I'm sorry. But they are rumored changes that could substantially impact the work that we're doing, not actual changes. That's what I'm trying to understand.
Madam Chair, council members, I think we are very much at a wait and see approach in terms of nothing's happened yet, but we are actively monitoring and seeing what avenues we can use to keep to the spirit of the Title VI. And so we're just talking about, like, some of the executive orders that may have come across and what is our position, right? And our position is with the law. And so we've had those conversations. And so any of those conversations come up, we may notate that in the document in of itself, like, hey, we are aware of executive order, what they're speaking to. However, our position is to follow the law and until otherwise stated. And so we are very much being optimistic, but also making sure what are our options when it comes to following the law and all the land.
Thank you. That's very, very helpful. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Councilmember Pacheco.
Madam Chair, but what we also hear is that what's coming out in the executive orders, and that's how it pertains to Department of Transportation and others that are working on this, and to a point where you previously may or may not have been certified as a WMBE and like that those questions won't be asked anymore. That you have to prove that you're individually or your company or who you represent, actually, you have to define the impact to that, not historic, not anything beyond that. And so it's a big change. And I know regional administrator and others are working on it. But, I mean, so what you do know, it's great to be optimists, but there's the other side of that coin. And so what do you see as far as the churn out there in regards to what others are doing, like the Department of Transportation? An example, I have a good friend who has a number of magazine booths over at the airport. And that he got into that program based on getting some support for them to hit diversity goals. He said, those are gone. And he said, I may have to just reapply. And again, so you're certified today, you may have to reapply. And they're not going to decide until all of them, all the applications have been reviewed versus like this. And that's what I'm hearing, and that's what something, so maybe you can tell me I'm wrong, I hope.
Madam Chair, council members, I wish I could tell you were wrong. I can actually speak a little bit more for so with the Civil Rights Unit, specifically even broader, the Office of Equity and Equal Opportunity, OEO, it is our job to make sure that we are following law, but also making sure that we are here for such a small business you were referring to, right? But we are in a very interesting time politically in terms of the spaces. And so we're trying to make sure that we are following the law and also doing all that we can. And so that's where the optimism comes in, but we are monitoring it as soon as possible. We're seeing things, frankly, the amount of speed that some of these issues may come up, we're seeing it really fast. And so we're just trying to keep up and making sure that we're abreast. And to be frank, to make sure that we are getting information out to our relevant parties as fast as we can, and give any suggestions, any ideas that we can. But we're trying to monitor as fast as we can and then get the information out as fast as we can, if that makes sense.
There's no questions? Councilmember Tyrone Carter.
Just a comment, and as we all know, since executive orders had to force the law, effectively with a pen stroke, he could write new law. And if that happens, we appreciate you guys being aware, and we appreciate the effort that you're putting forth. And at times, hopefully it doesn't get to the point where it feels like uphill in a snowstorm. But we'll cross our fingers and work hard and hope for the best.
Additional questions, comments? All right, thank you all for your conversation and the good work you do. All right, then I entertain a motion to approve business item 2025-309.
So move.
Moved by Councilmember Osman. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilmember Tony Carter. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. On to our final business item for the evening, which is business item 2025-316, which is a right-of-way loan acquisition fund repayment from the city of Ramsey. And we have Tony Fisher here.
Thank you, Chair and council members. My name is Tony Fisher. I'm a transportation planner in MTS Planning. And I have with me today a proposed right-of-way acquisition loan fund repayment from the city of Ramsey and related proposed write-off of two remaining loan balances. So for background, Minnesota statute does give the Met Council the ability to make loans to cities to purchase right-of-way for needed highway improvements in advance of land being developed or redeveloped and avoiding possible more costly acquisitions. So the council made two loans to the city of Ramsey in 2005 and 2006 for properties along US Highway 10 related to improvements that you've seen in the past and currently on Highway 10. MnDOT has determined that these properties will not be needed for the future highway improvements. And so the council staff asked the city of Ramsey, I'm sorry, let me back up a second. Council staff ordered an appraisal of the properties, resulting in estimated combined values of almost $2.3 million. The outstanding loan amounts reflecting the purchase cost and transaction cost total almost $3.6 million, so a difference of approximately $1.3 million. Council staff attributes the diminished value over time to the purchase of these parcels at the height of the real estate market before the 2007 to 2009 recession and to depreciation on the buildings. Council staff did ask the city to market the parcels for sale. The city marketed these parcels for more than 90 days, and it resulted in 3 offers, the highest being $2 million. It is standard practice in the real estate industry for the seller to pay closing costs, and it has been the past practice in the RELF program to accept loan repayments less customary closing costs. Closing costs are unknown at this time, but are anticipated to be less than $100,000, including agent fees. So we have outstanding loans of 2 outstanding loans that total almost $3.6 million. We had appraisals that totaled almost $2.3 million, and we have a purchase offer of $2 million. With this business item, it would include a proposed loan write-off of almost $1.6 million plus closing costs. So business item 2025-316, the proposed action is that the Metropolitan Council authorize the City of Ramsey to sell 2 parcels purchased with right-of-way acquisition loan fund loan numbers L0505 and L0609 for the agreed upon combined value of $2 million. Forward these funds, less customary closing costs, to the Metropolitan Council in satisfaction of these loans, and direct staff to write off the remaining loan balances.
Thank you, Tony. Any questions or comments from council members? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve business item 2025-316.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Cameron. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Chambliss. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, Tony. All right, if everyone is in agreement, I think only the first item, the loan agreement of MnDOT, should go non-consent to the council, and the rest can go consent. Okay. All right, moving on to information. So first information item is regional solicitation evaluation with Steve Peterson and Amy Donowitz.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. Today we want to give you an update on what's happening with the regional solicitation and also get some feedback, particularly on community considerations. And I do want to thank Chair Barber, Councilmember Cameron, Carter, and Chambliss, who are on the policy work group. We've been meeting about the last 2 years. One more meeting to go here, but I've really had some good discussions before the TAB meetings. So the council's role in approving the solicitation, the second bullet point there is to approve the application. Materials now come about the April timeframe. Next April, you'll concur with the project selections, which will be early 2027. And then you approve the Transportation Improvement Program, or the TIP, when the projects enter the TIP thereafter. And so while this is quite a bit of money, $125 million per year of federal funds that flow through the Metropolitan Planning Organization, it is only 3% of the total transportation spending in the region, but it is very flexible funds, and so it does get a lot of attention from our partners. One of the federal requirements for the funds is that they align and are consistent with the Transportation Policy Plan, and so the last 2 years, we've been doing just that. We've updated the Transportation Policy Plan, and now we're making sure that our funding is in alignment with the Imagine 2050 goals and objectives, policies, and actions of the Transportation Policy Plan. Here's the new structure, and you can see color-coded. The columns are the new goal-based structure, so safety in red, dynamic and resilient, and the application categories that fall underneath those. Environment, which is made up of climate and natural systems. And then highlighted on the bottom, our region is equitable and inclusive, not an application category at this point, but proposed as a scoring measure called community considerations that we'll be talking about this evening. So we did have over 100 people involved with special issue working groups. That was primarily last spring and summer. And those technical experts from across the region helped us with eligible project types, scoring priorities, and the weighting. And now we're having discussions on some of the scoring priorities and weighting across all of our committees. And you can see the 7 special issue working groups, we call them, in blue. So an example of what those special issue working groups came up with is an application category here called roadway modernization. And so you can see how they've proposed to split up the points. Again, the measures and the criteria, the criteria are in bold, the measures are underneath them. And in this case, roadway modernization, 40% of the points is proposed to go to multimodal complete streets connections. 30% to safety, and there's 3 submeasures there. 5% to freight, 5% to natural systems, and then 20% to community considerations. And so the community considerations is consistent across all of the application categories proposed at that 20%. Then lastly, one of the recommendations that came last month out of our Transportation Advisory Board was to set targets for roughly how much money may go to these different categories to give applicants an indication of where they may apply. So in red at the top of these columns, you can see targets. It's not set in stone. It's up next fall time period. We'll have more serious conversations on what those numbers are and funding options. But you can see safety, 30 million, bicycle pedestrian projects, 35 million, transit, 60 million, that column, roadways, 110 million, and then environment, $15 million. So a few of the major changes we wanted to highlight for this group, again, proposed as it's going through our process, starting next week at our TAC Funding and Programming Committee. Simplified applications, certainly hear a lot about safety at the TAB committee. So we have 2 new categories, proactive and reactive safety, and we've talked about that a little bit this committee. Electric vehicle charging ties back to the climate, but no selection until 2028. Equity we'll talk about more tonight. Amy will talk about that. And then lastly, we've integrated part of the regional sales tax, which is the 21 million or so that goes to the tab for active transportation uses. So we've got 3 application categories and a target of about $50 million for this year to go out to our local partners for local bike facilities, local pedestrian facilities, and active transportation planning.
Madam Chair and members, Amy Venowitz with MTS Planning. And over the next couple slides, we're going to go into some detail on just one piece of the solicitation that Steve has pointed out a couple times. It's called community considerations, and it is, as Steve pointed out earlier, this is a criteria that we are proposing appears across all 12 of the proposed solicitation categories. And again, as Steve indicated, one of the big outcomes of this big redesign of the solicitation really has been to more closely tie the solicitation to our regional policy plans, both Imagine 2050 and the Transportation Policy Plan. And one of the other things that is included in Imagine 2050 is the regional equity framework. And I'll point this out when I go over the measures. But the current design of the community considerations, we are proposing 3 measures, and they really are aimed at addressing the 3 bullet points you see here for the regional equity framework. That we have measures that are people-centered, data-driven, that we prioritize engagement with overburdened communities, and that we provide benefits to communities that go beyond just mitigating the harm of a potential project. So we do think our proposal on equity and inclusion and how we're including that in the solicitation is well tied to our regional plans. In the next few slides, you're probably going to hear me use some terms that you're not used to hearing. First of all, we are calling, rather than calling it equity and inclusion, we have broadened the reference a little bit to what we're calling community considerations criterion. But this criteria really is directly meant to fall under the equity and inclusion goal. One of the reasons that we have done this is a federal reason. As you discussed earlier, we do have some new federal direction, particularly on equity. And we have been directed not to use equity and racial considerations in awarding funding. And we don't really think this proposal is doing that at all, but it still, at its heart, is getting to the purpose of equity and inclusion. So as we go through these slides, the way we're using these terms, community really is looking at community, people and groups of people that are adjacent to and could be impacted by a transportation project that we might fund or that is being proposed. So this is a geographic, do you live near, do you work, go to school, access destinations around the proposed transportation project area. And then the other term you're going to hear me use is specific communities. And this is really looking within the broader community context at what we are calling specific communities, communities that we should prioritize, that have been overburdened in the past, and that we really need to highly consider when we're making investments. And that includes communities of color, low-income populations, indigenous, disabled, youth populations, and also our senior and older adults. And so these are communities that, with our community considerations, we want to be prioritized, and we want to make sure the applicants are highly considering these communities. So the current design of the solicitation, and as Steve indicated, this was done with an interest group of a number of our technical partners from throughout the region. We also had some staff who have been focused on engagement and community work, so they brought that expertise to our interest group. And the proposal that we currently have in the solicitation is highly based on the work of this interest group. And this group came forward, and we are proposing 3 measures for community considerations. And as I said earlier, these relate directly back to our racial equity framework. And the first measure is community data and context. We are asking that applicants demonstrate a clear but also nuanced understanding of the community that lives near the project and might be impacted by the project, and that they rely on data here, but also on specific knowledge they have of working in the community in the past. The second measure is that we are going to ask applicants to show how community was involved in identifying the need for the project. All transportation projects are trying to solve a problem or a need, and we want to make sure that communities have been partnered with, engaged with, and had some say in identifying the needs of their community around transportation. And then also that future engagement with the community is planned. And we ask the applicants to demonstrate that they have policies and procedures for engaging with community and explaining their plans, and hopefully budget within their project for engagement if the project should become funded. And then the last measure that we are proposing is around community benefits. We are asking that applicants describe the benefits of the proposed project, and that those benefits relate directly back to the need that was identified by the community. These 3 measures would be scored across 5 ratings: low, medium, high, or high on each of the 3 measures, and all 3 of the measures would have an equal weighting. At 20% of the total points, the current weighting would essentially be 6.7 for each of the 3 ratings. And one of the things we've been emphasizing is that high ratings are a very high bar. We don't expect that very many applicants will achieve high ratings, and even fewer will get a high rating across all 3 measures. And those that do really need to document that they are using best practices and really have a full understanding of how to work within community. Then the final element here is that we are designing a training both for our regional solicitation applicants, but also for anyone within the region that might choose to take the training to really talk about how to work with community, how to focus on community needs and benefits. So that is the policy that came out of the interest group. We have been bringing it forth through a number of our partners in the process. We've been in front of the policy working group, the technical steering committee, and then most recently, last week, we were in front of the regional solicitation technical advisory committee. Overall, we've seen a lot of support for these measures. There is agreement that we need these types of measures and a strong foundation of that agreement that we should move forward with something. We originally heard quite a bit about what was in a past version titled community engagement. A lot of our technical partners told us we don't use the term engagement until we actually are in the midst of scoping and building a project, and then engagement means a very specific process. And so we retitled that second measure to be community needs and future engagement, and we're really emphasizing what we're not looking for an engagement process as much as having them tell us, how did this problem come forward? How do you know it's valued by community? How do you know it meets a need of your community? And that could come about from past work within the community, from past planning efforts, from surveys, from just engagement with residents in the area. Then the 2 pieces that we want to talk specifically with you today, we have gotten mixed feedback about how heavily these 3 measures should be weighted. We heard from our interest group that it should be consistent across all categories. They were very strong on that, and they came out with a proposal of 20% of the points. We've been getting written comments from our technical partners that this is too high. And then last week, we heard through a letter from the county technical staff that they do not support 20% of the points going to this criteria and these measures, and that they suggested 10% would be more appropriate. And so we want some feedback on that today. And I think from my work on this issue over the past few years, I would say I think that maybe is a little bit too low. And it's a lot of effort to answer these questions and to think about these issues. And we want to make sure that it has some significance as part of the solicitation. The last issue is we have also been proposing, because community considerations does not have its own category of applications, we had proposed that as an alternative, the highest ranking projects in community considerations, one that got high across all 3 of the measures, would be essentially given priority for funding. And some of these projects, because of the scoring, will end up being funded anyway. But if by chance there was a project that scored high, and did not otherwise receive funding through the solicitation, we wanted to offer a priority of funding that TAB would consider and hopefully approve And that would be similar to having a separate category of funding around equity, inclusion, community considerations. So we heard originally we had proposed that up to three projects could receive the priority funding. We, through the process, did hear from the technical staff that was too high. And also there was some concerns that projects, safety projects in particular, that were lowly rated on 80% of the points might be guaranteed funding. And particularly in safety, they did not support that idea. So for that issue, we have now suggested that only one project be given consideration for priority funding, and that project would not be able to come from the safety categories. And I bring that up, I went through the whole issues because I do think the two issues are somewhat interrelated. If we score community considerations highly and adequately, it might, and consider it as part of the solicitation, there's less of a need to have a priority funding. So as the counties have approached us about lowering the weighting, I think that might also be a consideration again of, well, if we think about lowering it, would we want to have more priority funding for projects or not? So that really is where we're at. And I'm going to pause here and maybe ask for some thoughts, comments about the measures themselves and whether the 20% is a number that the Transportation Committee can give us some advice on how to move forward with our technical partners on.
Very good, thank you. Councilmember Chambliss.
Thank you for that presentation. My question is, when the engagement was done in September and October, how many people gave feedback? That's one of the questions.
Madam Chair and members, I might turn to Steve here, but the letter we specifically received on the level of scoring for community considerations was from all 7 counties, and specifically the county engineers, I think, were the ones who signed it.
I think that's fair. Yep, the other, Madam Chair and members, the other technical feedback, I think, as Amy mentioned, was more centered on safety. In particular, they really wanted that to be a data-driven process, and so that's why we adjusted the proposals so there's no funding priority in the safety category.
Yeah, I understand from participating in some of the meetings that safety was a big priority for most people. There was common agreement on that. I like the 20% weighting, and the reason why I do is because it is in line with our priorities for Imagine 2050, the TPP, and our goals for equity and inclusion. And I also, that's like the biggest reason. I was actually thinking whether or not it should be 25%. You know, I mean, I know safety is a basic need and it's very important. So I understand that being at higher. And so I would go with the 20%. The gaps in terms of overburdened communities have been so pervasive and persistent that in order for us to even make a little bit of, you know, gains, we have to really give it some attention. The special priority, if it only impacts, you know, one organization getting, that special priority. I don't think that's a consideration, but I think more so the weighting is more of an issue that I think needs to be addressed. So I vote for the 20%. And the fact that there were multiple groups that weighed in. The policy working group and the technical steering committee did not seem to have as much of an issue with the 20% since it's not highlighted. And if it is, then please correct me, along with the comments from September and October.
Madam Chair and members, one thing I would point out, so the process we're in has been to get technical feedback. So the feedback we have received to date, other than with policymakers, really is technical transportation staff from the cities, counties. And then the next step in the process is to release it for public comment, where you really are getting comment from a much broader audience. And so just keeping that perspective in mind, if that we really haven't shared it widely with non-technical transportation staff.
Okay, that makes more sense now to me. When you responded to how many people participated in the comments then. Thank you.
Councilmember Tony Carter.
Thank you again. I have heard this presentation in different iterations, of course, a number of times being on the committee, and really appreciate the evolution of the work. You all have done, I think, a great amount of attention and sitting with this work to mindfully bring it forward. I would want to remember that as the recommendations came from the special committee focusing on equity, those were community folks and organizations who looked at that area in particular to give us their recommendations. So I don't want to forget that level of community feedback, although it was input, on the input side, not on the feedback side. I don't want to forget that and ignore that came out of what we asked for, a special consideration, because equity, which is a priority and in all of our plans in a heavy way, does not come through this particular process as its own category. Makes a lot of sense that we want to be sure to consider it across categories. And as we look at the two questions, one of weighting and the other of whether there should be priority consideration for high project scores, I think it's really important that we not press both ends against the middle. Really strategically, we have heard from the community that presented the recommendations we're considering, that in order for equity projects to stand an opportunity to come through and or to fit within the design categories that we have and heavily influence, we needed those two. One, the higher rating, and two, the consideration for high scoring across all measures, projects to come through on their own, if not selected in some other way. We started talking about 20%. We've seen a recommendation for 10%. We had been talking about the possibility of 3 projects coming through. We've seen that narrowing to 10%. And I have consistently, just really wanted to reflect the Metropolitan Council's key priority in a big way here. My concern is that as we squeeze toward the middle, we provide or we decrease the opportunity for that to happen. I am not afraid of many projects scoring high, 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 to the extent that I would have supported 3 projects coming through that window. I think also that as we heard in committee about the research that's been done, actually applications that had come through the last process being scored against the equity goals, we saw that there was really not a viability of project scoring on those high, high bars, high, high, high. I'm concerned about whether we have that opportunity at all, but if we do, for projects to come through that window, it would also concern me that we would say no to such a high priority as the Metropolitan Council has iterated over many years. So I just want to reinforce again, and I've said this in committee, that I stand firmly with the 20%. Although I'm hearing that county engineers have a concern for that, and I have great respect for county engineers who do this work. We want to balance that input. We've heard from community in presenting this. We've talked about this in our committee and in various different settings. We've heard that input, we've heard other input. So I stand with the 20%, and I also, with great concern, that we may not see any equity projects come through the window of priority, stand with that as well. And thank you, Madam Chair, for just allowing me to painfully restate my position. This is hard, and I get that we're doing something different. It's difficult to receive that difference. We have priorities in the number of areas, the safety, the modes, the environmental areas. We want to consider equity in all of those areas at a level that can influence. And we also want to, if we should have community impacted projects that come through and score high in all of those challenging criteria areas, not wanting to shut them down, I'd like to see that opportunity. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Carter, for your comments. Additional comments, thoughts? It's not going to surprise you. I have a few. So when the work group was looking at this, both of the transportation policy plan and the regional solicitation work group, we knew that one of the regional goals was really the focus that our region is equitable and inclusive. We knew this was a priority of this council. We knew it was a priority of this committee. We knew this was something we wanted to be able to start, at least maybe continue moving the needle on. We started doing some of this work back in 2014, and it's been very iterative, and we built more and more work in this space into our work, including into the transportation sector. So I'm very troubled by some of the feedback from the county technical staff. We intentionally at the work group put it not as its own category, but across everything, because it mattered to all the different categories. And I think that was the right approach, and that's why the 20% made sense, because it doesn't have its own standalone. It should impact everything. And so I really think reducing it to the 10 minimizes it to such a level that it could take away our opportunity to impact what we saw as a very important regional goal. So I'm very in favor of the 20%. We'll definitely argue for that at TAB as well, as long as everyone seems to be agreeing with me here. And then also, I think we did do the pilot testing at old projects. None of them scored more than medium, I don't think, on the things. So I'm sure we can have additional conversation at the work group as to whether to select a priority project. Anyone to disagree with that?
Well, thank you for that, the way to think about the priority project in terms of the test scoring. But I know sometimes we do, when we change scoring, we evaluate it for a certain period of time as well. So.
All right, anything else? I think you can relay the message also that policymakers will ultimately make the decision. All right, anything else from us?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to our final information items, customer issue tracking and reporting project. We have Ben Ruchkowski, Dexter Thomas, and Kelly Morrell. Thanks for hanging out with us.
You're very welcome. All right, good evening, Madam Chair and council members. I'm Ben Ruchkowski. I'm the Director of Customer Experience. I'm joined with my colleague Kelly Morrell, who's a project manager on the customer experience team, and Dexter Thomas, who's a product manager on our team. And we're here to provide some background information and around our efforts to improve and modernize our issue reporting and resolution processes at Metro Transit. And really to spotlight an upcoming procurement that's ongoing, which will be procuring a new CRM system, our customer relationship management system, that's going to replace our customer relations database and our text for safety system with a unified case management system for the agency. So our goal today is to provide you not only the background, but hopefully build some enthusiasm for these efforts when we come back in Q1 of 2026. First, just to ground our work in the Metro Transit Forward framework, obviously with the customer experience department, we are fully in line with the strategic priority. And I just want to highlight that this effort to implement a new customer issue tracking and reporting system was one key objective that we called out in support of the experience strategic priority. So I will go through first to just give you a brief introduction of our customer experience department because we're brand new. So provide you some information about our origin and our mission, and then I'll hand it over to Kelly to provide you some background on our current state, the system that we're looking to procure and how we've approached this project. And then finally, I'll turn it over to Dexter to talk through our vision, the benefits that we're going to unlock for our customers, and then the timeline, and then go through any questions or comments that you have today. So our customer experience department, as I mentioned, we are brand new. Formerly, the Transit Information Department, our department has been restructured really as an outcome of the Organizing for Success initiatives that Metro Transit leadership took on this year as we looked on how are we best structured to be an adaptive, responsive learning organization. There were a number of recommendations out of that work. Couple key outcomes for us is the desire to really centralize customer experience work in a department that will focus on leading efforts to turn customer feedback into action. So this is building off a lot of the great work that Pam Steffen and our customer relations team has done, our transit information team has done, but we're really centralizing this work in one unit now. And specific to improving issue resolution, we are unifying our contact centers, our customer relations department and our transit information center into one contact center to really better help resolve issues, provide additional support, and resolve more contacts in the first call. So our mission in customer experience is really to turn that rider feedback into action and ensure that our customers have the support and the information that they need throughout kind of every stage of their journey to ride with confidence and ease. So as we've started approaching our work, we're really aligning around 4 pillars that you can see on the left, starting with culture change. In addition to kind of all the projects and initiatives that we have, it's really important that we focus on how we're encouraging everyone who works for Metro Transit to really lead with that customer experience mindset. And so that is a lot of work. When I've talked to peer agencies, it's really what they say the fundamental work of a customer experience team is to really shape that customer experience culture. We'll be focusing on how we're building customer insights from feedback and then developing metrics and measurements so that we can say what impact we're having. And then customer experience design operations, we want to make sure that we're implementing standards and practices that are repeatable within our business units that are focused on customer experience. And then finally, focusing on the leadership and governance. Customer experience goes across the whole agency, obviously, so we want to make sure that we have clarity around roles and decision-making for our group. But I like the sort of graphic image on the bottom right just to kind of explain our work as we see it. And it's really identifying all the different ways that customers provide us feedback and helping to develop the pipelines to get that information to people who can take action, and then being able to set up the measurements to evaluate the effect that we had with that action. And then that circle just continues with more feedback, more action, and more effects. So But at the heart of all of this, as we see it, is the new CRM system, case management system. Kind of all of customer experience work is a balance of reactive and proactive support. And in the middle of this is the new CRM system that helps us unlock new outcomes or better outcomes for our communities. Kind of on the reactive side is really helping us react more quickly and resolve issues faster, increasing the visibility across different teams for issues. And then onto the proactive side is really helping us develop insights that are guiding and informing our projects and our programs and our operations, and then getting to the point where we're anticipating customer needs so that we're taking action in advance of issues happening. So it's really exciting. The CRM is at the core of it, and I will turn it over to Kelly to provide more information about our procurement.
So as Ben laid out, customer experience has a really strong vision for best-in-class rider support, but our contact centers are only one point of support for our riders. Our Text for Safety program allows riders to discreetly report safety or security issues via SMS. And our community affairs staff are engaging riders and stakeholders every day. They're soliciting valuable feedback for our projects and ongoing improvements to our service. So across these departments, Metro Transit has built teams of professional, empathetic staff. What we lack are modern, integrated tools to streamline our workflows and unlock their full potential to deliver seamless, personalized customer service. Today, our customer relations specialists are managing issue intake, routing, and resolution in a homegrown application that was built in 1998. Our Transit Information Center representatives are collecting limited data points from customer contacts in another homegrown system, although it's more modern. It was in the last decade. Our Text for Safety is using an entirely separate platform that communicates with customers, and they're tracking those interactions separately. And then our community affairs staff are maintaining their contact records in Outlook and spreadsheets. So our current state is just tools operating in isolation with no shared view of contact history or visibility into issue resolution. Our staff are relying on Outlook calendar reminders, manual workarounds, and their own memory to get the job done. And finally, none of these tools really have the reporting or analysis capabilities we need to get robust, actionable data. So it's time to equip our staff, our support and engagement staff, with modern integrated tools that can surface insights in real time, can automate routine tasks, and enable proactive engagement. We have the talent and dedication already. What's missing is the technology to match their capabilities and elevate the customer experience. So in practice, what that means is we are actively in the process of procuring a unified platform for these three teams to handle intake, triage, routing, resolution, and reporting of customer questions, issues, and feedback. Broadly, the solution will be a customer contact management system for personalized, efficient support from our contact center staff. It'll be a two-way SMS tool for discrete safety reporting for our Text for Safety staff, and it'll be a stakeholder engagement tracker for community affairs. To reach this point, we have embarked on a comprehensive internal engagement effort. We met with teams and subject matter experts across Metro Transit, MTS, and regional administration to understand their needs and gather our requirements. So initially, we met with Strategic Initiatives Business Technology Group. They had done preliminary work in 2024 with the impacted teams that led to the initial recommendation that we procure a unified platform. We've met with Audit, the Office of Data Practices, and OEEO staff to ensure we understand our compliance obligations. Information Services in the Metro Transit Office of Performance have provided technical guidance and help us lay out our agency's needs for data analysis and reporting. We've met with key cross-functional departments like bus garage operations, public facilities, and asset management to learn their pain points with the current system and what they need in the future to help us resolve our issues quickly and effectively. And finally, we have aligned early and often with procurement to keep everything on track. I will say that this technology is only one piece of this. We need people and process to make it work. I'm going to turn it over to Dexter to kind of explain how we'll pair those to make transformational improvements in our customer experience.
Just click there.
Nope, it's already got you.
Oh.
Don't click.
Okay. So I wanted to show you how this turns into things that our riders and staff will actually fill. So the first is resolve. So that means when somebody reaches out, so that could be about a lost item, it could be about a safety concern, it could be about a service question, that their request goes straight to the right team the first time. So that means they're not having to repeat their story, they're not getting bounced around. And so for the riders, they're feeling heard and their problem is getting solved faster. The second is share. So all the ways that people contact us, chat, text, calling, web, email, all connected as one story. So that means if a rider texts and then later they call, staff can pick it up where that left off. I do want to be clear there, that doesn't mean that everybody sees everything. Privacy is part of the design, so the right staff still see the right things. But it's all connected, so good for riders as well. The third is anticipate. So another benefit is instead of, with the CRM, instead of waiting for problems to pile up, it helps to see patterns in the data and things that before it gets too big, if we're seeing issues, we can act before it becomes a big problem. And finally, the last one is improve. And so that's where it's not about just fixing problems, but about using the platform to check if a fix actually worked. And so over time, that means less repeat issues, clearer forms and messages, and also improvements to the system over time. So here is the path that we are on. So we already released the RFP in Q3 2025. Right now, as Kelly mentioned, we're reviewing proposals and selecting a vendor. Next, we're going to the council for approval and then finalizing contracts in early Q2 2026. And then from there, implementation begins. And implementation starts with 2 phases. So phase 1 focuses on the essentials, so customer support and text for safety. Outreach comes later in phase 2. And that was at community affairs requests, which gives them time to prepare and also manage change carefully. And so that's beginning with core rider needs and then going to proactive outreach once that foundation is solid. And to get this right, this was mentioned earlier, this has been happening and we're gonna continue this, but we're working on 3 things at once. So it's that CRM, the customer support platform, where it's creating this unified set of tools for customer support and for text for safety and later outreach that will help us manage customer relationships. But also, it's our ways of working, and that's really critical because the CRM will not succeed if we don't understand and improve how our teams are working together and continue to do that, and also giving staff the tools and support and training that they need to use the platform confidently and not have something imposed on them. And also this is not a one and done project. So when it doesn't end after phase 2. So at that point, we're going to be managing this as a product throughout. And what that means is it's not just a customer support platform, it's also managing those other elements that connect to it and will make it succeed. And that means the most critical part is continuous improvement. So listening to feedback, tracking data, and then doing enhancements over time to make it better and better. So what we come out with after phase 2, that'll be good, but then it gets even better over time. So into the future because of that.
All right, thank you very much. And now we'll stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Councilmember Cameron?
Yeah, I mean, I think, one of the things that I'm just really excited about this project and the progress that is being made, because I think it was surprising to hear that these systems don't talk to one another, and in particular, I think the text service for safety, that it's not integrated with other services, feels like we're going to lose a lot of customers in follow-up. And so I think that piece is particularly important as we're thinking about a broader safety strategy. But overall, it's just great to see progress on being able to integrate across a singular platform rather than pull from pieces here and there, because I think we'll find utility out of this that we don't even know we need because we're not there yet. So thank you.
Exactly. Additional questions, comments? All right, I'll just echo that. I think this is great. Really looking forward to it because you're spot on. It's that customer experience. And the more we can simplify it and streamline it and things, yeah, it just makes it a chance to be more responsive and actually kind of do what we want to see happen. So it's good. Thank you. All right, Councilmember Pacheco.
Madam Chair, just a quick one. That is, it's not only the different departments and they don't always talk to each other, but it's the branding that goes across all of this, that magnifies what we're doing, that I don't see. I mean, I came from a corporate background, both at US Bank and Xcel Energy, where you could only use certain colors, and you had to be this far away from the border, and it was just, I don't go to that extreme, but I will tell you that after a while, everyone knows the elevator speech. Everyone knows what they see a sign, they know it's us. And I think those are the kind of things that support the deeper look at how do we engage people. But just this across the top layer there is important.
Exactly. All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, just a couple things before we go. Reva's just snuck out. I was going to thank Reva for stepping in and helping out while I was working as interim chair. So make sure everyone knows I said great things about her. And then also, we are at this point planning to cancel the meeting on the 22nd. I don't think anything new has come up since that. So that is kind of the game plan. So this will be our final Transportation Committee meeting for this year and our final one for this year over here. So we also have to thank Becky, who takes such good care of us when we're over here at Haywood. So thank you very much. And if there is nothing else, we can be adjourned.
I'm just glad to be here again.